That is Pawn returning off the injury list and joining the sub bench, but it will be Scout starting for them.
One big question mark we have for EDG, isn't it? When will we see Pawn again? When will we see Koro again? But for now, it's Mouse, and he's been performing well.
And Spawn likes to call this the best bottom lane in the world right now, Deft and Meiko. And quite frankly, I agree with them. They've been playing out of their mind. We saw Deft with a 50% damage share. We talked about that a lot earlier for one of his matches. And EDG, they've been looking good this so far.
It's not just Deft, though. Meiko is performing amazingly. He deserves to be in the same exact conversation with the likes of Mata, which is incredibly impressive because this is effectively his second year of playing.
Not to mention he's going to be up against Giants as well on the other side of the rift. But we'll be delving into RNG's team composition very shortly. Koro and Pawn, returning as substitutes here coming to this game as well.
But this is the mismatch, though. The fact that Koro and Pawn are the subs, and so that's Mouse and Scout. And this is where the map is unweighted. It's Looper and xiaohu versus Mouse and Scout. Because Uzi and Mata, I'm sure they'll be fine.
And we're going to get a look at RNG's lineup here as we take a look at their team profile. Up in the top lane, it's going to be Looper, followed up by Mlxg in the jungle. xiaohu will be taking to the mid lane as Uzi and Mata try to compete against the world's best bottom lane as Sask and Wushan will be their substitutes.
And Mlxg really been stepping up lately in this split, putting in some work and stamping his foot in the jungle. Of course, he's against clearlove, which is going to be a tough thing to do, but conflicting styles might actually favor RNG here, with being the weapon of Mata, could be able to get some ganks off early.
Let's see if they can do just that here, Very heavily weighted in the bottom lane for both these teams. Uzi and Mata, they definitely can try and take down Deft and Meiko here.
Okay, it's ridiculously weighted in the bottom lane for this team. So Uzi's damage share is 28% of his team's gold. He has the highest gold share of any position of any player in the LPL. But you have to think, RNG are a team that is crafted for Uzi to succeed. Not in the same way that Starhorn Royal Club would just play kind of protect the AD carry comps, but just in their general play styles. xiaohu used to be a wave control mid laner before being a wave control mid laner was popular. It wasn't until MSI that kind of the little tiger grew up and became this like kill threat in the mid lane. He used to just sit back, Emperor of Shurima, Xerath, farm all day. Now he's got the pocket pick LeBlanc. Looper has always been known for his TP plays, especially in tandem with Mata on the bottom lane. So it's kind of like RNG's identity was already set up for this all-star AD carry. They had Wushin, he did great things, and now they have someone better.
And his gold share also tells that story even further there, where I believe he has the lowest gold share just above supports here. So we are going to take a look at a few highlights here for RNG and also a few statistics, especially for this man, Uzi, as the AD carry, as well as Mouse, taking to the top lane for EDG.
Yeah, definitely worth talking about Mouse. He's got a big task ahead of him in this best-of-3 series. Playing against Looper, not an easy thing to do anyway. Even if he is a teleport-heavy and influential on the map top laner, he has laning phase like no one else.
And we have Scout as well, the other solo laner, taking over from Pawn and Koro from now. He's been having pretty decent games so far.
So I don't think anyone can argue that Koro is worse than Mouse. I think that that's pretty definitive. Mouse is doing a good job, but he's definitely not Koro. He doesn't have the dual threat of being a carry top laner as well as a role-playing top laner that Koro had for EDG. But as far as Scout versus Pawn, Scout is a different player, obviously. He's kind of being more controlled. He does have different styles. We're starting to see that emerge a little bit, but he's mostly been on the control wave meta. A lot of Azir pick. He's a bit more consistent than Pawn, and he reminds me a lot of you from 2014 old EDG days, which is why I think he works so well with the team, because the team really has never been about a mid laner. It's just been about their mid laner kind of playing janitorial duty, whereas Pawn, yes, he has that 1% miracle play. He's got a higher skill ceiling, but the problem is he's a double-edged sword, and a lot of times, especially the last time RNG and EDG faced, Pawn cost them quite a few important plays and quite a few games and kind of overextending and being over-aggressive.
For now, though, it is going to be Scout that starts in this match. We'll have to see if later on in this game or in the series Pawn comes into play here. But we are going to head into Champion Selects for game number 1 between EDG and RNG. And already, the bans have been going underway here. Sivir and Nidalee being taken away very early here by EDG, as Braum and Rek'Sai are going to be the bans coming out from RNG.
And this was the question, was it going to be a very heavy jungle target? Because both these teams will win through their jungle pressure. I think clearlove's more about finding, denying camps and just being oppressive, whereas Mlxg is more about killing the enemy jungler. Or were we going to see focus towards the AD carry position, trying to limit Deft and Uzi's weapons?
We also see the Azir ban coming out from EDG here, as well as a Vladimir ban from RNG, which means Ryze is left open.
So let's just quickly touch on the fact that Azir got got banned by the team with Scout in it. He's played 7 Azir games. It's his most played champion, nearly double his second, and he's only played 3 champions total. That's a big sign of respect for xiaohu.
And to jump on the back of this with Ryze being the priority pick and having that Azir banned away, EDG consistently will always prioritize Ryze. And that seems fairly obvious because we're so used to seeing banned or picked immediately. But again, the last time these two teams faced, RNG left Ryze open multiple games, EDG would pick it and they would still outmaneuver it. So RNG, like going into this game, you know that EDG will prioritize that, and RNG have shown in the past that they already have answers.
Yeah, but the meta has shifted slightly,
that's
of course,
the
so there's not going to be a Poppy to outright defuse the Ryze during his burst combos. RNG still to respond.
Well, let's see what they can respond here with, as the Ryze, you know, still 100% picked a band in the summer split of the LPL so far, as we do get Graves and Karma being the choice of lock-ins for the RNG lineup.
So I will quickly just touch on the fact that with Sivir being banned by EDG, I really like the first pick support here from RNG. We've called Karma very similar to what Sivir does, being able to speed your whole team up and augment them if they wish to engage.
Also needs to be noted then that Mlxg threw down the gauntlet. clearlove does prioritize Graves over Kindred, although Kindred has been played more times by him this current split. But he has both options available, and he chose the Graves.
You know, Kindred has been picked and banned 99% of the time in the LPL, so very similar to Ryze here. Let's see if it's going to be the pickup for clearlove. It's still waiting for EDG to pick up their next 2 champions to respond.
Could pick the Kindred here and just continue to hide their hand. Oh, we're going for actual utility.
Well, let's see if they do lock that in, because, you know, we've talked about it a lot. The bottom lane right now for the LPL, very carry-oriented. If they lock this in, which they do, means we're going to get a little bit more utility from the EDG lineup, as Ashe and Bard are going to be the lock-ins of choice for EDG.
Again, for the global audience, Ashe really hasn't seen a ton of play in the LPL like she has in other regions. Deft is one of the few AD carries that has picked her up a few times, so obviously has experience on the champion. Right now we have long-range initiation and pick potential from Bard and Ashe. And
immediately RNG are going to lock in their next 2 picks. They pick up Caitlyn here for Uzi, a champion that is time and time again banned out against him, as Viktor will be the lock-in of choice for xiaohu.
Yeah, so standard control mage in the middle lane, you would assume against the Ryze, Viktor will do quite well, at least in diffusing it. I would imagine he will switch to exhaust, as is customary against the Ryze. The Ashe Bard as well stands out a lot to me, simply because it looks like EDG are trying to map play RNG through this draft.
Well, let's see if they can just EDG, looking to try and complete
or just clearlove them.
Their team composition with their final 2 picks.
clearlove has done this before. Again, Kindred is available, but he has played Kha'Zix. He played Kha'Zix into a team comp that didn't have a true tank.
I think there was 2 Kha'Zix in the LPL. One of them was top lane tank, the other was clearlove, and only one of them won. I think you can work that out.
Well, it is going to be Kha'Zix locked in one more time here for the EDG lineup, as well as Ekko, their top lane pick of choice.
So when we saw clearlove take Kha'Zix, it was into a very low CC team composition. I believe it was I think it was Vladimir on the enemy team, and effectively they just didn't have any way to lock him down, so he just ran rampant into the backlines. We have a similar instance in RNG's comp right now, except for now.
And the final lock-in is going to be the Maokai being played by Looper here. So RNG do find that crowd control that they would need to lock down some of EDG's lineup, but EDG packing a lot of crowd control themselves.
Yeah, I mean, EDG have crowd control, but I do want to touch on the fact that RNG is just outright standard. That is a stock standard meta team composition that is incredibly strong with their individual lanes. Top lane can defuse, jungle can fight, mid lane can burst, and their bottom lane can enable and siege with the rest of their team. So that is about as basic as it gets, but it's fundamental and it's always effective.
No, completely agree. And on the other side, again, it's just kind of pick potential and assassination potential. So EDG are going to have to be far more reliant on how they play around vision and really watch out for that big 5v5 Viktor Maokai.
Well, let's see how this one pans out here, because already 3 very surprising picks. Ryze got through pick and ban. Yes, we know RNG led it through last time round. clearlove is on his Kha'Zix, and we're going to see deft on Ashe here. And one more time in the LPL. So interesting team comp for EDG. Very standard coming out from the RNG lineup.
And the question will be, do we lane swap or do we 2v2?
Well, let's answer that question as we head into Summoner's Rift for game number 1 between EDG and RNG. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have loaded onto Summoner's Rift here for game number 1 between RNG and EDG here, as it is going to be the grand finals of Spring's rematch between the two teams, and let's kick it off.
That was so cool.
That was sick.
I think it sums it up nicely, though. You have to touch on the last word that it said, revenge. And that about sums up this series between these teams right now. EDG, RNG, both number 1 in each respective group. And there is revenge on the line.
Keystone Masteries are going to go ahead and pop up on the bottom of your screen. Everything fairly standard. Again, Warlord's Bloodlust on Ashe helps compensate for her lack of lifesteal in the itemization, so helping her get through that.
There's a Thunderlords on the Kha'Zix, however, and whilst that could be considered standard because it's a damage Keystone Mastery on
I said it was standard because you ran it last time.
Yeah, I still don't know if I'm fully on board with that. You're a fragile champion who has high burst damage when people are isolated anyway. Strength of the Ages would help out.
We also see the Storm Ranger surge coming out from the Ryze, something that, you know, changes between Strength of the Ages and Thunderlords from time to time, but is found to be more commonly the mastery of the Keystone Mastery of pickup, as we are going to actually see a lane swap coming out from the RNG lineup. Uzi and Mata will get spotted out that ward as they move towards the blue side of EDG's jungle.
Which means that they'll have to either exit or take this.
Well, Mata already trying to be a nuisance here. It will be taken away by clearlove, but they get some decent damage down on towards Kha'Zix and Ekko.
So RNG have a very interesting statistic where they
clever.
Don't actually lane swap that often, but they do end up with their bottom lane in the top side of the map 55% of the time, which means that usually they're trying to find a lane swap or match it and then just blindly go up to the top lane.
You can already see Meiko here being a little bit of a nuisance against Mlxg. He is able to steal it away. Meiko takes blue buff from Mlxg at level 1.
Wow. Meiko giveth and Meiko taketh away. That's great. Welcome to Bard at level 1, though, ladies and gentlemen.
It just goes back to this idea, though, that Meiko needs to be mentioned in the same breath as Mata right now. He has really shown himself as kind of the premier support in the LPL in a very stacked lineup.
For now, though, we're going to take a look and see where the teams are going to send their champions to, as already RNG moving Uzi and Mata back down towards the bottom lane to go up against Deft and Meiko.
And this is what we were talking about. RNG will constantly try to blind lane swap because they want to, A, disrupt the enemy jungler, push a wave, and then kind of rotate back, and sometimes they can get chipping CS discrepancies. But more importantly, it's so they make sure that they get that 2v2 either way. It's just kind of a stock reaction that they have.
Yeah, honestly, it's a little bit cheesy for the invade, but it also gives you an early recall edge where you come back with boots or a longsword depending on how it went. And when you play champions that don't have the tier reliance like the Ezreal, it's usually a great idea to just put that into effect and cause disarray.
Well, we can already see Uzi did go back down into that bottom lane with boots. Immediately, EDG actually send Deft and Meiko up towards the top side of the map, so they do not want to go into this 2-on-2 lane matchup.
Difference, though, will be Ashe picked up the Cole versus that boots pickup by Caitlyn.
So let's see how long it's going to take Deft to get that one stacking. As xiaohu here in the mid lane, being rather aggressive, trying to push this one out against Scout. Let's go. I'll take a little bit of damage inside of his jungle. He's going to go ahead and recall.
We're already starting to see a big discrepancy, though, between the top laners. Looper 16 to 4 CS, so this Maokai falling behind, especially in experience. And with the duo lane up there alongside Mouse's Ekko,
Oh, wow.
there could be a bit of a threat here, which is why Looper is being so cautious.
Mouse just teleported and then cancelled it because I don't know if he either intended it and got told otherwise, but they want to push into a standard lane swap. Mouse almost got himself, I'm not going to say killed, but they would have assumed that the jungler and top laner were there from RNG. He would have blindly put himself into a situation bottom. So now the top laner of EDG just does not have his teleport because he pressed the button at the wrong time.
And that's both teleports from EDG down as Scout used his to get back into the lane against xiaohu. But EDG are going to go ahead and get some damage down towards the top lane outer turret. And Mlxg is going to get spotted out one more time. The bottom lane turret is going to get worked on by Uzi and Mata here, so they do not have the help of their jungler or top lane to take this one down, but should be able to take it down nonetheless.
But in the end, after this tower trade, the primary benefactor is still going to be EDG because Mouse has such a lead.
Yeah.
Well, let's see how Mouse can use this lead. We talked about it before this game. Looper, very well known not to pick up gold on the side of the RNG lineup. He's, I believe, 18% of his team's gold share.
The sacrifice for this CS advantage that most people will get is the Drake. That will always get taken when you're on the bottom side of the map getting the turret. And Mlxg got a recall in beforehand, so it helps out.
And we can already see RNG working to try and take this one down. It's a Mountain Dragon as well, which is a dragon that RNG do like to focus on taking down sometimes.
It's going to be incredibly beneficial to their Caitlyn composition, however. We've seen this a lot. Again, 6.11, so Zerkers have been adjusted, kind of brought back into line, so there's a lot of siege potential if Uzi wants to go into Zerkers, 2 flat AD items, and then immediately into attack speed.
On top of that, the next dragon to spawn will be another Mountain Dragon. So if RNG can start stacking these up, their siege is just going to get out of hand here against EDG's lineup.
And kind of an issue is that we have a Ryze. Not that Ryze doesn't have amazing wave clear, but obviously having to burn his ultimate to do so versus a Viktor who's just going to freely laser through.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions, though. I'd say that EDG being more skirmish-focused with their drafting. Remember, the Kha'Zix is there.
Scout actually gets Chaos Storm dropped on top of him. Does quite a bit of damage there with the Thunder Lord's proc, but that's just going to force him to stay behind the turret for now.
I'm really glad that you bring up this idea of a skirmish face or focused composition from EDG. It's funny, EDG against their previous final were so good in the 5v5s. In fact, that was the only real time that they bested RNG is when they got all 5 men piled into there. RNG excel in the skirmish. They excel in the 3v3, the 2v2, and their composition is pretty much compensated against EDG. They beat us in 5v5 last time. Let's take a stock standard 5v5 composition that has all these other bonuses like sieging on top of it, whereas EDG, I feel like they kind of weakened themselves unless they really get these picks going.
What they really want, though, they would excel the best. They're just diving EDG.
Teleport is actually be coming in from Looper here onto Deft and meiko. Mlxg is already on the top side of this map, blows the flash coming out from Deft, but here comes meiko jumping in aggressively. Looper now going to go in, but clearlove gets so much damage down on Mlxg, takes him down for first blood. That's going to go on over towards Mouse. It's Uzi now taking a lot of damage, gets taken down by clearlove.
Oh,
They're not done yet. Scout is up in this lane as well as meiko going to take a ton of damage here. EDG cleaning up the RNG lineup.
And there we go. They tried to skirmish EDG under tower and were immediately punished by EDG finding a beautiful collapse and ripping through them.
They gave a lot of notice to EDG. Mouse had his teleport backup available, so that's where things definitely turn around here. Turret's at full health. meiko gets the flash, doesn't stun somehow, but clearlove can assassinate, and this is where Mouse starts to get these first kills. And everything just unfolds so poorly for RNG. Aggressive decision, usually the right move to dive them when there's only 2 there. There wasn't 2, there was 5. They were prepared to fight you.
Yeah, great read on that. Likewise, Scout getting involved earlier because xiaohu was actually coming back from a back, so Viktor being unable to follow up.
And with that, with those 3 kills, being picked up there by EDG, they're already 2,000 gold ahead of the RNG lineup just 8 minutes into the game.
Should be noted, though, that Mouse was the primary pickup there for a majority of those kills, now sitting 2-0-1. And again, even though 6.11 has 6.10 has taught us that the AD carry is more of kind of that utility role. We do have an Ashe here. We haven't seen many carry-oriented top laners, particularly not from these 2 teams. Mouse in particular is very support-heavy.
Well, let's take a look at the damage dealt in that last fight, though. As clearlove topping the charts there, did about 1,000 damage. Mouse was very close behind, about 975 damage there. So EDG, top side of the map, and their jungler is able to do quite a bit of work during that small skirmish.
That was a skirmish. Exactly what it is. RNG definitely still want to have 5v5s. They want to set themselves up with Looper on a front line to be a tanky source. But because they teleported, they were kind of respondent in their movements around the map. There was also a turret blocking them at forced flank situations where Kha'Zix can get isolated damage. And that's exactly where they don't want to be.
It can create a really rough situation because now we have a CS discrepancy as well as the bonus gold from the kills on Mouse, so 48 to 22. Whereas Ekko is going to start to become a problem in these side lanes. Again, Mouse isn't really known for his split pushing, but the option is there for EDG come mid, come late game if they want to pull the trigger on it.
Well, we're heading 10 minutes into this match right now, and EDG, they're still 2,000 gold ahead of the RNG lineup. Taking things a little bit slower now. As Mouse looking to try and get onto Looper in behind this turret here.
So Viktor's rotating.
Likewise, Mlxg is coming down. A lot of pings.
Lots of pings going down as meiko tries to steal away the Scuttle Crab. Not quite long enough range to take that one away.
He got the blue buff. I think we'll let him off.
We're still going to see the AD carries and support up on the top side of the map here. Uzi and Mata already pushing out that wave, and they have me for most of this game so far.
And so what clearlove did there by being on the bottom side of the map is empower his Ekko further to be aggressive, and not necessarily just to get a kill, potentially to draw Mlxg down and win a 2v2, but ultimately just to give Mouse a point of power in his lane that he should already be winning. That's 5 stacks on his Dark Seal, a massive CS advantage and kills to boot. He will be leaps and bounds ahead of Looper, and they're just letting that happen.
Well, Dragon is going to respawn in about 1 minute and 10 seconds. Going to be the second Dragon and second Mountain Dragon of the game, especially. Gives us some time to take stock of where things are at the moment, especially in terms of items. We look first down towards the bottom lane, where the top lane is up. Both of them picked up their Spectre's Carls here. Yeah, I'm going to take a look at Scout as well in the mid lane. He's looking for his Rod of Aegis. Does have the components completed, but not the full item just yet, and still has his tier stacking. So EDG, pretty strong right now, especially in terms of items.
They know clearlove's there.
We also know that Scout's rotating. He could get collapsed upon. Here comes Mata. Takes the safe route.
Just going to go back in towards his side of the map. But here comes a magical journey, coming out from meiko. clearlove trying to jump on top of Uzi.
Oh.
There goes the Tip of Fate coming in, gets dodged out, and he sidesteps the ultimate there. So EDG really wanted to take down Uzi
they're
there.
in a bad position.
Let's see if they can get wrapped around. No, Mouse just put some damage down. Mata, put some damage down.
Okay, what a disaster. Went a bit pear-shaped, obviously, kind of underthrew the Tempered Fate. Did get the flash, so that's a fair trade.
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, though, Scout going to take a lot of damage from xiaohu here. Chaos Storm gets put down, puts a lot of damage down in return.
And that's why Deft threw the arrow afterwards, knowing that Uzi's flash was down, but Uzi, the ever-mechanical god, with his blue suede shoes, sidesteps it.
Dragon has actually respawned here, but both of these teams putting a lot of pressure towards the top side of the map, not opting to try and take down their objective swiftly here.
Notice how I said sidestepped Rusty instead of just flat missed.
It was a bit of both.
I know.
It was also, like, in terms of even execution, they should have thrown the Tempered Fate before they threw all of the other spells out, and Kha'Zix jumps into it instead.
I could read your face. I was trying to sell it, and he was like, nah.
Well, for now, we are going to see the teams move more members down towards the bottom side of the map. xiaohu and Scout still going at it in this mid lane. On top lane, meiko putting a lot of damage down towards Mata. Does get the stun. Deft trying to put some damage back down in return. Exhaust going down towards Uzi, but he's not going anywhere back here. His ultimate is going to come out. A teleport does come in towards the top lane. It's going to be Mouse coming up to the top side of the map. Looper's going to get here as well. Mouse going to take a lot of damage from this Maokai. Uzi and Mata, not too concerned with battering down the tank. Just farm up the wave.
And in the end, everything kind of fizzles out. Viktor was making a rotation there, so xiaohu trying to get involved on the back half of it, but effectively both top laners came in just to say, knock it off, bot lane. We're done.
Yeah, and the teleport's still pretty cool from Mouse. I was expecting him to cancel it because it was a 1v3, but by being as tanky as he is, he can hold the fort, and they don't lose any turret. They don't even take damage on it. He just sits there, and everything goes back to standard, except that we swap where our bottom lanes are because the next Drake is available.
Well, we can see at the moment, everything in terms of CS score is dead even between these two teams, except up in the top lane, where Mouse has a sizable CS advantage over Looper at the moment.
This, isn't he?
He's 30 CS ahead as clearlove is trying to take away blue buff.
He's running.
EDG.
It's a long journey.
He's going to move over towards it. We'll be able to pick up his blue buff. He wanted it. Clearlove probably did too.
Now question becomes, without the teleports involved in the bot lane, that means that EDG do kind of sacrifice their one strong point on the map, or their one very clear strong point on the map. So as we're now focused around this dragon, it's actually fairly even for RNG until those teleports are back available.
And Mlxg's going to give this blue buff on over towards xiaohu, so Viktor picks up his blue buff as well. meiko actually taking a magical journey back towards his side of the map. Gets a couple of wards down in RNG's territory,
Yeah, that man was covert ops. And last time we saw Mlxg try and lane gank, they were very much aware of it. And Deft used his Hawk Shot to reveal him this time around. They've got a freeze, so he doesn't need to be here. And if he shows his head on the top side of the map at all, even if EDG are vigilant in knowing that clearlove's at red, so Mlxg's at red, they have a numbers advantage on the bottom side of the map. They can look to make a play.
Well, Mlxg has moved towards the top side of the map here. There's Mouse, the one trying to push out the wave quite deep in towards Looper's territory. clearlove is down on the bottom side of the map, and you did mention bottom lane is freezing for the EDG lineup. Without a turret there, it's going to be much easier to freeze it.
Uzi does not have flash. We have Tempered Fate and Arrow available, as well as the jungler on bottom side. They want Dragon. It could start with a pick, unless Mlxg again shows himself on a ward, and it's just a free 4v5.
Ideally, they just arrow mid lane. He does have cleanse, however, which is very clever from Xiaohu, considering he's doing well in this lane as well with the cleanse. Got to give him a lot of credit. The mid lane is showing up for RNG.
Now things have quietened down here between EDG and RNG. Nobody really wants to take down this second mountain dragon yet. Pings are going down on towards it. but nobody quite wants it picked up.
Oh,
It's clearlove. That's going to be a
goodbye.
lot of damage being put down on towards the Kha'Zix. Forced to jump and flash out of there. Xiaohu just chunks him out of Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, Rusty just gave props to xiaohu and showing it right there. He's the one lane that's doing fairly even, hasn't fallen behind. Mid lane has been relatively isolated, trying to rotate for his team and just tries to delete clearlove, almost successful.
You see LG was looking to try and find him inside of his jungle, get the ultimate off to try and snipe off clearlove. But with the chunk coming out towards the jungle on EDG's lineup, Mlxg and xiaohu are going to start on the second Mountain Dragon of the game, possibly pick up the second one for their team.
Yeah, one of the big pitfalls of the Kha'Zix just there is how fragile he actually is. Scout's trying to zone him off. I think the end result is honestly just a mistake in terms of itemization that we're seeing.
And the second Mountain
the
Dragon
Kha'Zix.
will fall on over towards RNG here. And the next Dragon to spawn will be another Mountain Dragon. So if RNG can keep this up, that's going to be a lot of damage done to epic monsters and objectives.
Which means a very early and terrifying Baron for RNG, who are a team who historically have the highest Baron control in the LPL, as well as their siege potential on a Viktor Caitlyn composition.
EDG have to fight for the next one.
Yep.
No matter what the circumstances are, they need to get themselves in there. 3 is too many of any kind of dragon, so RNG living up to their namesake right now.
Well, EDG have been able to naturally grow a gold lead for themselves again. Uzi is forced to flash away as a Temper Fate comes out of meiko.
Pretty much off of cooldown as well. Deft does still have the arrow, so that should be noted. Meanwhile, mid.
Xiaohu going to take a lot of damage, from Scout. Pops his ultimate, tries to chunk out the Viktor.
Such is Ryze. It's hitting a point now where, while xiaohu is doing well in the middle lane, Ryze is still a champion that scales.
And he's picked up his Rod of Age as well as his Merc threads there. So, pretty strong right now, Scout. So is the rest of the EDG lineup, although they did lose that dragon. They still have a nice 3,000 gold lead for themselves.
Quickly kind of steering back towards Ryze and Viktor. Obviously, these champions do fairly similar things. They've got burst, they have AoE splash damage, things like that. Viktor is not nearly as reliant.
That is such a good journey.
Yeah, it is. Is not nearly as reliant on flanks as Ryze is. So that flash and especially the teleport are very important summoners for Scout to be as effective in kind of a line of scrimmage set type of team fight.
Speaking of teleports, all of them are up at the moment on Summoner's Rift. Mouse and Scout for the EDG lineup, as well as Looper on the RNG roster. All have their teleports up and available. You can actually see a small CS deficit growing here down at the bottom lane, as Def is 10 CS up ahead of Uzi right now.
Which
Everywhere.
is shocking because Uzi averages 11 plus CS on his opponent.
And like Rusty mentioned, even the mid lane slightly going in favor of Scout right now, but the biggest deficit is still up on the top side of the map. That's grown to a 40 CS lead for Mouse.
Comparatively, it's a finished Iceborne Gauntlet. As the mid lane pressure is definitely still going to continue. It'll only get worse from here. clearlove also finally finishing a Hex Drinker, not having just the Serrated Dirk, means he can afford to face check Victors and not flash for it. He's finally picked that part of his itemization up, and that was greedy from clearlove. He was trying to snowball off the early skirmishes and lead that he had. He was slightly ahead, but Viktor still a very potent early game threat.
Still means he is a full Serrated Dirk ahead of clearlove at the moment. Oh, Mlxg, sorry.
Dive being set up here from EDG.
EDG looking for it. Actually do get the slowdown on towards Mlxg with the Q coming out from Bard. Not able to quite lock him down though.
And the nice thing is by moving Scout that early is that xiaohu cannot follow. Vision control is set up from EDG. They're very oppressive in their control over this jungle, although Mlxg with a cheeky ultimate does manage to get that. But it means that Viktor's locked down into that lane, and since he doesn't have TP, he cannot follow. So EDG can continue to abuse Fog of War like this.
But from the pressure coming out from EDG down at the bottom lane, they're able to take another turret down for themselves. So they're now 2-1 in terms of turrets. They get its RNG.
Yeah, definitely still looking strong here, EDG. It's just those Drakes that are starting to become an ever-present issue for them.
And they've been able to grow that gold lead one more time here, now up to 4,000 gold ahead of RNG.
Well, it was really RNG just taking a lane swap scenario, putting Looper in a hole, and then trying to take an immediate skirmish fight off of that with a 5v5 composition. So RNG, their tendency is kind of getting the best of them, despite what they drafted for, ever-present aggression that's a little bit unbridled.
You'd have to say that's kind of just something that works for them, however. Remember that they've been only playing against the rest of their group, teams that you would have to say are arguably just worse than them, plain and simple. Now they're against someone that can match them with draft and skill.
We're looking to try and take down Uzi here.
Double
So teleport's
teleport.
actually coming in. Deft going to try to go toe-to-toe against the Caitlyn for now. Might be able to pick up a solo kill there as Deft just straight up 1v1s Uzi there. Mouse not even able to get a tick of damage down in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, it's going to be Scout and xiaohu duking it out in the mid lane. Once again, Ryze able to get the better of that trade. Meiko trying to move up towards the top side. Can't quite learn to stun.
And more importantly, Deft didn't even expend his ultimate in that exchange. That was just straight up auto attack on auto attack. It felt like Uzi just kind of resigned himself to his fate.
I mean, you can look at the items there. Deft definitely has more base damage at the moment with the Essence River being picked up already, as well as the Zeal. Meanwhile, Uzi sitting on that Runar's Hurricane, the components for his Infinity Edge at the moment.
I know that there's reasons for why that 1v1 went in Ashe's favor, but we just watched Deft 1v1 Uzi. Just let that sink in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a world we live in.
A glorious world.
Dragon now spawning in 1 minute. Will be that third Mountain Drake, which means it's ever important that EDG fight for it. Can't afford to give that over to RNG.
They do have a 4,000 gold lead just 21 minutes into the game. So EDG definitely are in position to try and contest for this next objective.
And that definitely reflects on their itemization, in particular their top laner. So we keep going back to Mouse, has the Iceborne Gauntlet as well as the Spirit Visage, comparatively to Looper's items. We're coming into a big 5v5, and EDG's tank is far more online, with a lot more backline threat as well.
You look at Looper, he only has the components like you mentioned, hasn't completed a single major item. So I see how much of a threat he can pose to Deft in the backlines.
I feel like RNG just have to let this one go.
For what it's worth, component items are still reasonably relevant because he has magic resistance, armor, and health, all still parts of his kit. It just means that the damage isn't going to be there, so EDG could out-team fight.
2 stuns being put down to Uzi here. They tried to find the damage,
was
but
great.
only able to chip him down to half health.
That's what they want, though, because that means he's half health. He doesn't have life still, and the Drake is up, so that should give them the clean-cut objective, knowing that the Caitlyn has to back. If he doesn't back, RNG may look for it.
Mouse, they're going to take a little bit of damage here as 3 members of RNG try to collapse on top of him. He's going to take tons of damage, forced to try and flash away. Ultimate is going to come out from both the Viktor and Uzi. RNG find a pick for themselves. Meanwhile, though, clearlove's able to take away the Dragon, but slowly RNG trying to collapse on towards the team. Deft, he's been caught out by Looper. They're going to be able to take down the AD carry. He tries to duke out with Mata. Is not able to quite to take him down. It's 2 kills. Going on over towards Uzi and EDG, although they get the Dragon, lose 2 of their team members.
RNG look for that 5v5 with their composition as well as picking off Mouse, so get a superior team fight for them as well as positioning on mid lane, and now looking for more.
And Mlxg trying to jump on top of the bar there, but Scout, he's going to put down his spell rotation onto Graves. Forced a quick draw round up there. Flash forward there, looking to try and take down Mata. Scout able to obliterate him there.
Yeah, very well done from Scout to consolidate what was a poor start to that fight. Mouse didn't even get the ultimate off when it all broke out, and really EDG just damage controlled as best they could whilst taking out the Drake. That was their goal. Deft doesn't get in a magical journey the clearlove has to jump into to even get out safe, and that was just run away, lose as little as you possibly can and consolidate those losses. But RNG gift them an extra kill on the back end. Mata, whilst he did the most damage in his team in that fight, still pays for it with his life, so took the most as well.
You see clearlove was not able to even scratch, so much as scratch anyone from the RNG roster as they were on full retreat when Mouse got caught out there.
It doesn't matter, mate. Karma just out-damaged the entire team.
Mata's champion, we've found it.
Speaking of supports who get the most gold, Mata and Meiko are tied.
Well, let's see if Meiko can step up to play, because he's, just on a blue buff away for now.
He has done plenty, how dare you.
Not quite done tons of damage
He's
in team
gotten
fights.
2 flashes for every single Tempered Fate.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, he's 2 for 2.
They're just kicking off the Baron.
This is risky coming from the EDG lineup. They're looking to try and take this one down. They do have 1 Mountain Dragon, so augmenting some of their damage done to this epic monster. They got it down towards half health. Temper Fate actually going to come out from Ekko and try and stop them. Mlxg has jumped in towards the pit. He gets taken down. Deft's able to take him away from the team. But clearlove, he's gone as well. There's no smite, but it's still going to go over towards Scout who takes that down. Uzi now is the target. Magical Journey straight on top of Mata. And RNG going to lose 2 of their members. A big Chaos Sword coming out from xiaohu. Not quite able to take down Deft. It's Mouse now going to be able to lock him down the side of the parallel convergence. Cleanse comes out from the Viktor trying to run away as fast as he possibly can. It does look like Looper, though, is now going to be the one that does get caught up. Tries to stun out Scout, who takes a lot of damage here, but xiaohu still has to run away. Another parallel convergence comes down. Not going to lock him down, but that's enough damage as Mouse finds that kill. Looper's going to fall as well, and EDG just found a massive lead-off to that fight.
They found a Baron and an Ace, and I love the fadeaway hawk shot from Deft as he walks out, but it's like, it's cool, fam, I got you.
And so look at where Maokai and Viktor are. It's the only reason that this got kicked off in the first place. They know they have that numbers advantage. Mlxg just gets absolutely ruined. But for what it's worth, the junglers were dead, so EDG's focus had to be like solely on getting a Baron down.
Right through the field goals on that Caitlyn.
And once again, meiko with that magical journey saves his team's skin, because Deft able to run away whilst the attention shifts, and Mouse with that gold advantage, big item lead. There is nothing that these two damage dealers can do.
And a big problem is also the fact that xiaohu's mana pool is so small right here. He has cooldowns available, but unfortunately just not the resource pool to put out any more damage.
And you see the stickiness of Mouse. They're able to stick to Viktor, take him down with the use of 2 parallel convergences across that chase from top side to the mid lane. But that's given EDG a massive lead here 25 minutes into the match. 8,000 gold ahead of RNG.
And this is a big gold swing without RNG being able to execute on their composition. Again, they're a big 5v5 team, and we've only really seen one 5v5. It's been 2 skirmishes that have defined this game so far.
And that's EDG's team composition that we continue to touch on. Skirmish heavy, it's got the Kha'Zix for isolation, even though he did 0 damage. They still caused skirmishes because RNG's bottom lane was separated on the top side. The rest of the team were running to the pit from the bottom side. If they cause separation, cause disarray, and honestly just confuse RNG's shot calling, they win every single fight.
On top of that, they do have the Baron buff right now, so looking to try and increase this already substantial gold lead into EDG's favor even more, as Mouse is going to be able to take down the top lane inner turret. The rest of EDG working to try and take down the bottom lane. meiko, it's a very small magical journey away to safety.
And we talk about how both Group A and Group B are relatively even right now in terms of power, but to see RNG get just so dismantled in, yes, Game 1 is quite shocking.
They're effectively just being bodied.
Yep.
Everywhere across the board. Mouse is currently 3-1 against Looper, which is a mismatch.
Deft are able to sidestep the ultimate coming out of Mlxg. They're still looking to try and siege the bottom lane inner turret as Mouse, he doesn't really care about Looper right now, just trying to chunk away at the top lane inhibitor turret.
I mean, RNG came back from MSI after a fantastic group stage, obviously falling in semifinals to SKT, but they still looked just as strong in the LPL, just as dominant.
On top of that, they picked up Uzi to their lineup, the superstar AD carry formerly from xiaohu, now newbie.
And Mouse just recalled, so they may look to teleport and force this one.
Well, they still have,
try and fight.
They still do have Baron up minions, and they're able to take down the bottom lane inner turret. So that's a lot of objectives going on over towards EDG's favor. They're taking down every single turret outside of the RNG base. They're 6-1 in terms of turrets taken too.
It's an over 10k gold deficit for RNG.
On top of that, next dragon is going to be spawning in 6 seconds, which will probably be the final elemental dragon of the game, unless EDG take it right off the bat.
RNG are not a team that have ever really been known for their team fighting. They do it decently well, but again, they're much more oriented about their skirmish. They play a lot more compositions that empowers that, as the Ocean Drake does fall to EDG. And the concern is here is, yes, there are tools for them to come back. They do have decent wave clear. Caitlyn now has Infinity Edge, already had that Hurricane, so you got decent wave clear there. Viktor, of course, is still alive. But the stall tactic here, I mean, you're looking at 15 minutes before they can become relevant in a 5v5. I'll give them 10.
Now we can take a look at the gold leads that have escalated here for both these two teams. You can see every single lane, or every single matchup except for the junglers, has crossed the thousands of difference here. Only Mlxg and clearlove are close together, but it's still about 500 gold in favor of the Kha'Zix right now.
Can't even give them 10 minutes anymore. There's 2 Guardian Angels on the mid and top lane.
I was just looking at Ryze's items. That's
more of Malmortius for Ashe as well. They've just built defensive, and when you're ahead with defensive items, you basically are unkillable.
As RNG still getting picked off inside their own jungle here. meiko finds that stun down on towards Mlxg, who's desperately trying to clear away this ward.
They're playing a game. Deft. Sorry, Mlxg and meiko are playing a game right now. That's great. Clear my wards, I'll place 2 more in its place.
Well, RNG are still trying to hold on to whatever they can here. Baron is actually going to be respawning in about 1 minute and 45 seconds. EDG have control over Summoner's Rift right now. Could definitely try and force RNG to move away from their base. We already saw what havoc EDG can do when they do pick up the Baron buff. So RNG would most likely want to try and fight them one more time for it.
And EDG are showing their hand that they are content right now just to wait for the next Baron. They're just eating up every available resource on the map, taking and clearing out both sides of the jungle. RNG, they have a very small window where they can sneak over and place down wards. One of their blue trinkets is up, so safety there, but they got 1 minute.
You can actually see how desperate RNG are at the moment. Mlxg actually using his collateral damage to try and take the Gromp on his side of the map away from Scout. Gives us some time to look at the items though, as Uzi, does hit a nice spike for himself with Infinity Edge, Hurricane, and the Rapid Fire Cannon. So has 70% crit chance right now. Oh my God. You're not meant to do it to your own team, buddy.
All of your buffs are mine. All of them. It's the enemy jungle, okay? It's still his.
You know, he just pinged out as well, very nicely, that their red buff is still up and available.
Yeah, neutral ground. Meiko said, I got theirs. You can have yours. It's fine.
To be fair, makes
I reckon that's
quite a lot
actually
of
just
sense.
what he said. It's double the red buffs on the map.
It's the GA that's terrifying.
Ryze was already a pain to deal with. A almost full item Ryze, even worse.
But we've got 1-4 engaged right now as EDG are looking for a pick. Now remember, Arrow and Tempered Fate are up. Meanwhile, Mouse is in that bottom side applying a massive pressure point.
You also have Scouts sitting inside of the base here. We'll be stacking the home guards as much as possible, looking to try and see if he can find a teleport flank against the RNG lineup. That pink ward is going to stop them from getting vision on towards EDG.
RNG have done a really nice job as they moved into this jungle, though, clearing out the wards behind them. So Scout actually doesn't have a great option in terms of TP to get flanking position on RNG.
Mlxg just was forced to use his ultimate to get out of the Baron pit as he quick drawed in just to get some quick vision. Found nobody from EDG's lineup in there.
Don't worry, Meiko had red buff, and that helped regeneration. They've actually kicked it off now, though, EDG, and RNG have to respond to this.
Well, they're looking to try and collapse here. Meanwhile, Mlxg is going to get caught out by Scout. Takes a lot of damage. Temper Fate will lock down 2. Teleports are coming in. It's a double kill for Scout. clearlove's just jumping all over people as he finds the kill to xiaohu. It still stays alive. Looper is going to be the next member to fall. That's 4 kills for the EDG lineup, and then moving straight towards RNG's base.
And that'll clearly be the game. They have the creep wave behind them in terms of the... Oh, never mind. They didn't grab it mid lane. Looks like they're just going to rush over to Scout.
And they're going to try and take down the bottom lane inhibitor turret. They do have another creep wave falling behind them to try and help with this push.
They might try to tank it. Again, Scout has that GA available, although the tower changes definitely coming into play here.
Parallel Converge is going to give Mouse a little bit of shield here as the mini wave now going to try and meet this turret. First turret is going to fall down. EDG are not stopping. Meiko gets taken down by Mata there. So they're going to be able to take down the next Nexus turret. Mata forced to flash away. The Nexus is going to fall here, and EDG in 32 minutes are able to take down RNG in game number 1.
We have to highlight Meiko's phenomenal Tempered Fate play. He forced flashes out of Uzi every single time in that last team fight. Locked Caitlyn as well as Viktor up. Uzi was able to do anything.
We talk to the strength of the bottom lanes as the 2v2 and how stacked both of these teams are. I didn't see Mata